Hi guys, welcome back to Tashida's Lit Lounge where literacy is lit. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all. I am thankful for my family and my friends. I was able to FaceTime today because I couldn't travel. But I am still thankful. I am thankful for all of the loving texts wishing me a happy Thanksgiving. And now I am going to read to you why May and Junie B Jones are thankful. So we're going to start with chapter 6 where we left off for Junie B Jones. Turkeys we have loved and eaten and other thankful stuff. Something in common. Mr. Scary roamed his eyes around the circle. Okay, let's get started again. Who has bought something so special that you can't wait one more second to show us? Me, I shouted. Me. No, me, shouted May even louder. Then she jumped up and she reached into her thankful bag. And so I jumped up and I reached into my thankful bag too. And then, boom. Both of us pulled out our thankful items at the very same time. And I could not believe my eyeballs, I tell you. On account of me and May bought the same thankful item from home. And here's the shockingest part of all. They were the exact same stuffed elephants. It still takes my breathing away to think about that because me and May are nothing alike. And so how can we be thankful for the same elephants? Both of us kept staring at this terrible situation. We could not even say any words. Mr. Scary leaned back in his chair and smiled. Well, this is very interesting, isn't it? He said. His smile got bigger. I actually love this, girls, he said. It just shows us that even when people are quite different from each other, they can still have things in common. He stood up. That's what happened with the Native Americans and the Pilgrims, remember? He asked. Even though they were different from each other, they were thankful for many of the same things, and that allowed them to become friends. I raised my hand. Yeah, only May and I are not friends, Mr. Scary. Plus, I don't even get pilgrims, I said. Their costumes look hottish and sweatish. May stepped up in front of me. Well, I love pilgrims, she said. I wish I was wearing hot, sweaty pilgrim clothes right now. I did a huff at her. If I was an Indian, I would not eat squash with you, I said. Mr. Scary laughed. See, girls, see how different you are, he said. But look, you're both thankful for the same little toy. I frowned my eyes at that comment. Philip Johnny Bob is not a little toy, Mr. Scary, I said, real annoyed. Philip Johnny Bob is the bestest stuffed animal friend I've ever had. May nodded. And my elephant is my best stuffed animal friend too, she said. His name is Police Sergeant Chuck, and I have known him since my mother brought him home from the store. She held him up for everyone to see. My mother made this little police uniform for him. See it, everyone, she said. He has a little police jacket and a little police hat and a shiny little police badge. She looked at Philip Johnny Bob and made a face. Police Sergeant Chuck does not have patches sewed on him like Junie Jones's old elephant, she said. Junie Jones's old elephant has been all torn and ripped. I made squinty eyes at her. Yeah, only here's a news flash, madam, I said. In Mother Nature, elephants do not wear police uniforms. In Mother Nature, Police Sergeant Chuck would look like a nitwit. Philip Johnny Bob laughed out loud. Ha, good one, Junie B, he said. Plus, I love my patches. Me and Philip have the same actual talking voice. I hugged him real tight. Yes, I know you do, Phil, I said. Plus, the only reason you have patches is because sometimes when you and I wrestle, I accidentally throw you too high in the air. And then you land on the ceiling fan, and I have to turn up the fan speed to get you off, and then you fly across the room and you land on the pointy living room lamp. Philip hugged me back. But I love riding on the ceiling fan, he said. It's fun. I smoothed his softy ears. I know it is, Phil. That's how come I throw you up there whenever Mother is out of the room, I said. May did a gasp. Friends do not throw friends on ceiling fans, she said. Riding on a ceiling fan is even against the law, I bet. Police Sergeant Chuck nodded real fast. Yes, I bet I could arrest him for that, he said. Chuck and May have the same voice, too. May smiled. Yes, I bet you could, too, she said. And so Police Sergeant Chuck got right in Phil's face, and he said, I'm taking you to jail, Peanut Butter and Johnny. Then he bopped Phil in the head with his trunk, and so Philip bopped him back, and then, bam! They wrestled all around in the air, and they bopped and flopped and socked and thumped. Plus, also, they chased each other around the show and tell circle. All of room 1 laughed and clapped. It was very joyful. Then, whoa, whoa, whoa! A loud voice interrupted all the excitement. Knock it off, you two, it said. Right now. Everyone looked up. Mr. Scary's face was reddish and maddish. Also, his hair looked wildish and spriggish. Me and May stopped running speedy fast. Phil and Chuck stopped running too. Mr. Scary ran his fingers through his wildish hair. What do you girls think you're doing, he said. Me and May looked nervous at each other. We rocked back and forth on our feet, and we tried to think real fast. Well, let's see, I said, very shaky. What do we think we're doing, May? May's voice was shaky, too. Right now, we think Police Sergeant Chuck is chasing Peanut Butter and Johnny because Peanut Butter and Johnny is running away from him. She glanced her eyes at me. Right, Junie Jones? I nodded my fastest. Yes, I said, that is because Peanut Butter and Johnny does not want to be arrested by a nitwit elephant in a police suit. Just then, Police Sergeant Chuck looked shocked at me. Hey, he shouted, you can't say that. Then he turned around to May and he hollered, cuff him. And before I knew it, May pulled some teensy handcuffs out of Chuck's jacket and she tried to put them on Philip Johnny Bob. But Philip was way too fast for her and he ducked out of the way. Then me and Phil started to run again, only this time Mr. Scary stepped in front of us and he took Philip right out of my hands. Plus, he took Police Sergeant Chuck out of May's hands too. After that, he snapped his loud fingers for us to sit down, and so both of us sat. End of joy. Chapter 7, Stinky. Mr. Scary put our elephants on his desk. He did a sigh at May and me. Then he went to the board and he thought for a minute. Okay, you two, I'm going to put your friends on our thankful list, but I am not happy with the way you behaved just now, and we will definitely talk about this later, he said. Roger looked over at us. Welcome to the club, he said. Mr. Scary frowned at him. Then he added our elephants to the list on the board. After he finished, he stood back and he read the list out loud. Number 1, cranberry jelly in a can. Number 2, exploding biscuits. Number 3, Nipsey Doodles. Number 4, rainbow sprinkles. Number 5, toilet paper. Number 6, money. Number 7, Philip Johnny Bob. And number 8, Police Sergeant Chuck. Well, he said, this list might not win us a pumpkin pie, but it certainly is unusual, isn't it? I smiled and nodded. Yes, I said, plus we don't even care about the pumpkin pie. Remember that? Pumpkin pie makes us vomit. Mr. Scary looked at me. Yes, I do remember that, Junie B, but thank you for mentioning it again, he said. Not a problem, I said. Just then, Lenny waved his hand real urgent. Ooh, here's a little pumpkin pie trick I learned last Thanksgiving, he said. I don't actually swallow the pie. Instead, I just keep it in my mouth until my grandmother thinks I swallowed it, and then I run into the bathroom and I spit it in the sink. Mr. Scary closed his eyes. Good to know, Lynn, he said. Lucille jumped up and did a fluff. I have a pumpkin pie trick too, she said. First, I put the pie on my fork. Then, I plop it in the rich, expensive napkin that is on my lap, and I wad it all up, and then I skip it into the kitchen, and I give it to our rich, expensive chef. She did a few more fluffs. After that, I don't know what happens to it, she said. Then she spun herself back into her chair. All of room 1 thought for a minute. Then other children started calling out pumpkin pie tricks too. And so Mr. Scary Quick held up his hand. Stop. Please, boys and girls, I get it that you don't like pumpkin pie, he said. It's just that I don't want anyone to be disappointed if we don't win the contest. All of us looked around at each other. Then Herbert raised his hand. But see, we think that you're the one who was disappointed, Mr. Scary, he said. May said that you hate our Thanksgiving list because we're not being thankful for the right stuff. May popped up from her seat. I tried to get them to change it, Mr. Scary, she said. My mother, Mrs. Mary Murky, made us a brand new thankful list you would really like, but everyone wanted to stay with Nipsey Doodles and exploding biscuits, so it is their fault we won't win that disgusting pie for you. I looked at her real angry. I would like to explode a biscuit on your head right now, I said. Then everyone laughed, except not May, plus not Mr. Scary. He did a glare at me. Whoops, sorry, I said. That was very too harsh. Mr. Scary turned back to the class. Boys and girls, please believe me, I will not be disappointed if we don't win the pumpkin pie, he said. I promise. He paused for a second. Then his face got a little smile on it, and he made his voice real secret. Shh. Don't tell anyone, okay? But I don't like pumpkin pie either, he whispered. Room 1 got very quiet. Then, ha! All of us started laughing at once, because sometimes teachers are just like normal people, almost. Mr. Scary looked at the clock. Okay, everyone, I think we have time for 2 more thankful items before lunch. Who would like to go next, he said. Shirley raised her hand. I would, she said. I have been waiting to show this all morning. Then she quick stood up and she reached into her thankful bag and she pulled out a box of sausages. She shouted, I am thankful for sausages. Mr. Scary raised his eyebrows. Sausages, Shirley? He asked. Really? Yes, said Shirley. Sausages are little sausage snacks for dogs. And last year when my dog Stinky got sick, he wouldn't take his pills to get better. So my mother stuck his pills in sausages, and then Stinky ate them, and he got better, and so sausages saved Stinky's life. Whoa, said Herbert. Wow, said Lenny. That is a powerful sausage story, Shirley. I know it, she said. We are trying to get it made into a major motion picture, starring Stinky. After that, she passed around a sausage snack. Plus also she passed around a picture of Stinky. Mr. Scary went to the board and he wrote number 9, sausages. Then he winked at Shirley and he added number 10, Stinky. Shirley beamed from ear to ear. All of room 1 beamed too. The day was getting happier. That's the end of chapter 7. And I'll be back with chapters 8 and 9 soon. See you soon.